This is Launch One with Mason Springer. I'm Mason Springer, and today we're joined with Tony Sangialosi. Tony is a bow hunter. He is a businessman in the bow hunting world, and just an all-around great guy. We met. It's been several years now, Tony. I think it was at a tack shoot. Is that right?
It is. If you recall, one of us was the winner of that video. I don't know if you remember that or not. And I don't want to admit, I don't want to embarrass anybody or anything like that, but there's a video out there, I think, somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. Now that I think about it, I do remember that. We went and shot a course with the Exodus guys. Yeah, I do remember that.
We
That
did.
was
Good
fun.
time. Yeah, it was a great time. That was the first time I actually ever been to a total archery challenge and just had a blast there. They do such a good job.
Yeah, yeah, tack is pretty good, and I do talk about it quite a bit on the podcast. And I mean, for a bow hunter, it is probably one of the best ways to gear up for season. Whitetail, western hunting, I mean, just all around, and it's a fun time too. It's always
Yeah.
good fun.
My favorite part about it, not to trail off, but it's just the community that's there. You're around everybody who does what you do and is obsessed with what you do. I didn't run across one person I was like, oh, I wish they didn't come. Like they were all, I was checking their setups out, like what are they running, what are they shooting? It was awesome.
Absolutely, yeah, and just the archery community in general, I think, is just a great group of people. I mean, there's definitely some communities where it can be a little bit more spotty, but archery is definitely not one of them.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, your company, your brand is Drawn Archery.
Yes, sir.
Um, kind of explain that to me. I don't know exactly what the full business is. I know I've heard of you guys.
Yeah. The name actually changed while we were at TAC. It's funny how that's. I'll tell the story real quick. So, I started off just being the friend that tinkered with everybody's bow. This is when John Dudley, knock on started, and he had all kind of instructionals. And I used to go to a local bow shop that was like 20 minutes from me, and every time I got home, there was like a problem. And not knocking them, they everybody does the best they can, but I was like, man, I can't, like, I don't have the time for this. I don't have the time to keep going back and forth. So I bought a press and bought a draw board and brought all the equipment to set everything up, and I just started watching videos, man, over and over and over and over and over. And then I started down the arrow rabbit hole, which is a whole nother animal, right?
Yeah.
um so I started building arrows for all my buddies, and a friend said, "Hey, why don't you charge for this and create an actual LLC and just like go into business?" And I was like, you know what, that's a great idea. So we came up with 330 Archery, which was 330 is our area code, right? And we started doing well. Nice. We invested in everything that we needed, and I went. To a buddy to order a set of strings, and he goes to me, "Hey man, it's gonna be the last one." And I was like, "Hey, don't worry about it. I'm getting a new bow next year anyway, so I won't need another set for this one." And he goes, "No, this is it. I'm gonna sell the business." He goes, "You should buy it." And I was like, "I've never built strings in my life. I don't even know what I'm doing." He goes, "Why don't you come spend a day with me, and then we'll go from there." So drove a couple hours, spent a day with him, and I was like, "Man, this is so cool. I can definitely do this." And but now the pitch is, I just talked to my wife about investing in a bunch of aero stuff. Now I got to talk to her about investing in all the equipment to buy the business, right? So
Yeah.
we've always wanted something for ourselves, something that we can eventually grow and maybe pass down to the kids one day. And so I went home and I sat down with her and I said, and I figured she was going to say no because it was not a cheap investment. Um, and I said, "Hey, just spent the day here. Like, I think this is something that I can do. Um, like, I believe in this, blah, blah, blah." And she goes, "Yeah, let's do it." And I was like, "Oh, now I like gotta do it, Like she gave me the pass, so I gotta do it." So I called my buddy and I said, "Hey man, we're in," and rented a U-Haul and a trailer and drove down there and picked everything up. So we started doing well. A lot of local business. The Exodus guys, some of the others, really helped me at the beginning, really just getting the word out. And I was always like maintaining, and it's not that we weren't growing, but I felt there could be more. And I started talking to our mutual friend Cameron, and he goes, "Hey man, like, dude, I think it's like if you're gonna take this thing to the next level, you really got to think about rebranding." And I'm like, it was me, him, and Lucas in the hotel room that night, or the Airbnb, and we started talking about like, all right, our logo is it's 330 Archery. Our logo is the state of Ohio, and we started talking about the state next to us, Michigan, who has a ton of bow hunters in it, right? Big rivalry, Ohio State, Michigan. Ain't none of them Michigan guys gonna rock that Ohio logo on anything they own, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Same thing with the Browns and the Steelers, right? I'm not gonna go to Pennsylvania and buy a 724 area code anything. I'm just not doing it. So we thought about, man, like we just got to rebrand this thing. I started thinking about like, why am I drawn to this? Like, why am I drawn to archery? Why am I drawn to the obsession of the arrow flight? Why am I drawn to continuing to try to grow this business? And on my way home, I'm thinking, and I'm like, bro, there it is, Drawn Archery.
Yeah.
You can use it in so many different facets. And let me tell you, the second that I rebranded, our business went and I'm telling you, there was no difference in the strength. There's no different products that we were um, selling. We weren't making the strings any different. We weren't stretching them any longer. We weren't using any more material. It was strictly like, dude, it was in the brand. It was in the brand. It was, we carry a good product. We take care of our customers, and now we're shipping all over the country. I mean, I'm working till sometimes 11:30 at night, getting strings together for people, and they're going all over the country. So that's kind of where we started and where we are now. And then, really happy to launch this year. We launched our first tangible, hunting product called the Wind, which is taken off like something I can't even imagine. So yeah, man, everything's going good. That's kind of how we started, and that's where we're at now.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I never even thought about, drawn to archery. That's where the name is, and that's
Yeah,
really great now that I hear it that way.
yeah,
That's great. So tell me about the wind. I know I've heard a little bit of the backstory there, but where did that start out from?
yeah. So milkweed, I am the better that I get at hunting, I'm noticing that I'm hunting less and less. And it's not because I don't enjoy it, but I'm much more strategic. When I first started hunting, I went out just to go out, and I didn't pay attention to the wind. I didn't know why am I not seeing any deer even though my scent is blowing right where they were coming from. I couldn't like put two and two together. I kind of learned on my own. I didn't really grow up hunting in like a hunting family, so it was something that I kind of just learned as I did it. And the more I started researching and the more friends I got in the community, I started to learn about how important the wind was. And now that I'm this far along, it's kind of common sense, right? If my scent is blowing in any direction where I think that deer is coming, I'm not going to have a chance at it in most cases, right? So I first started using the puffed bottle, and then I started, there's a big mesh bag. I just shoved it in there, and then I tried a pill bottle and all these different things. 2.5 years ago now, I was on a very large buck, and it would have been one of my largest I had ever shot. And I try to pick one out at the beginning of the year and just chase that one. It just makes it more difficult, Nothing against just shooting whatever you shoot, but I like that challenge, and I think it's a little bit more personal. So I'd never seen Buck in person. I only had him on camera, and I had him patterned pretty good. And he was coming on this certain wind, and I'm in the stand, and I thought I felt a little bit of wind hit the back of my neck, and I'm searching, I'm searching all over. Like it's probably the last hour of legal shooting light, and I am panicking, searching, trying to find my milkweed. And I something catches my eye, and I'm probably looking for it for 30 seconds. And I look up, and dude, that deer's staring at me 40 yards away.
Mm,
Caught me moving, trying to find this milkweed, and the end of the story there. He didn't come in for a shot, I'll tell you that. Went
yeah.
the other way. So on my way home, now mind you, I never saw that deer ever again. But on the way home, I started thinking like, man, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. And I had just a smartwatch on like I'm wearing now, and I'm driving home, and I'm thinking, man, it'd be really cool if like I could just like strap something to my wrist and like grab it. I don't know. Well, my daughter can draw pretty well, and she was still in high school at the time. And we sat there and we're eating dinner, and I said, "Hey, this is what I'm thinking about." Now, she used to hunt with me when she was younger, so she loves hearing the stories and all that. But I said, "Can you draw me something?" And so she drew me up exactly what I was thinking about. And one of my good friends who owns Tethered, Ernie, um, I called him one day and I was like, "Hey man, I think I got something here." And he goes, "What is it?" So I sent him over the picture that I had, and he goes, "Dude, you got something here." So sent it over to him. He helped me with we made like 7 different I want to say revisions on it, and finally came out with a product that we are super proud about for a couple different reasons. One, it's $15, right? Super cheap, very affordable, very well made. But what we came out with is the wind. So what the wind is, it's a silicone dial that is very, very flexible. You can put a ton of milkweed in this thing. And what's nice is it comes already supplied with a molly clip. So essentially you can just attach this right to your bino harness. You can attach this to your harness that you saddle, or you like if you're in a tree stand, you can put it some people like Cameron, he hangs it on his strap that he hangs his backpack on. You can put it on your backpack strap. And then it also comes with a Velcro strap that's I don't know, maybe 6, 7 inches, something like that, that you can also cut. So guys are putting it on their e-bike, they're wrapping it around their bow limb. Trad hunters are putting it on their limb as well. And essentially you just load the milkweed in, man. Very minimal movement. I make sure that for me personally, my hands are always within my core of my body when I move. And all I'm doing, man, is I'm just grabbing, pinching, and letting it go. Like that's the most movement you get out of it. So um, the only place you can get these are through me. We've had a lot of dealers reach out. Hey, can we stock these, this or that? And maybe one day, but right now it's just drawnarchery.co or Tethered. Get these from as well, and they are just kicking butt, man. So really proud of that product. It was it was just a problem solver, man. Like the problem
Yeah.
was we kept losing milkweed. We had big containers. We moved too much when we're using it. We need something small, something that can clip on that we're not going to lose. Because guess what? You're going to have that harness on. You're going to have that bino harness. You're going to have that backpack. You're going to have that saddle. You're going to have that tree stand harness. You're going to have your bino pack with you every single time you're going to hunt. And guess what? That thing's with you every single time, instead of having to worry about where's this pill bottle that I manufactured and poke a hole in? Where's this mesh bag of milkweed that's all over the place? You can stuff probably 2 pods, full pods in there, if not more. And that goes a long way, man. I don't know if you've filled yours up to capacity, but you can fit a lot in there. It's surprising.
Yes, yeah, and I mean, when I got mine and I filled it up, just went and grabbed milkweed. It grows everywhere around here.
Yeah.
It, I never really knew the value of checking the wind. First of all, if you compare it to like the little powder puffers, the
Mm-hmm.
powder you can only see it go for a couple feet and then it stops. When I started checking the wind with milkweed versus the powder, like it will start going one direction and then, get out there 10, 15 yards and go, way off
Yeah.
course. So it really shows me what the wind is doing. And then when I'm checking it like that, like now I'm checking it every, at least every hour when I'm in the stand. And, things are always changing way more than I thought they did. But now I've kind of got, after several sits of just checking the wind over the different times of day, I've kind of got it figured out in my stand where the wind is going, where it's changing direction, and where I need to, draw and shoot at a deer before it gets in that wind path.
Yes.
I've kind of got that lined out a lot better now. And again, I've got mine strapped right on the riser, right below my grip of the bow. So when I'm holding the bow there, I just reach down with my left hand, pull a little bit out, and then you can watch it go, especially if you pull up your binoculars. I mean, I can watch it go 30 yards sometimes.
Yeah,
But
it's really cool. I didn't know, where I hunt here, everything's flat. So there's still wind, obviously, and it's something that we still have to pay attention to. Where you're at, It's wild down there, man. It's not just a consistent, like in my area, you'll see it float the same direction. It may just veer a little bit. Yours yours because of the hills are it's probably all over the place. So like you said, where you think you're safe, you probably are, but you'll know like, hey, because that wind is cutting now from east to west or west to east or whatever, I need to shoot that deer before it gets to that spot because I know my scent's gonna hit. And the powder, you just won't see that, man. It's a really cool thing.
Yes, definitely. And, it's milkweed, so it's natural stuff that's already out
Yeah.
there. And I
People are
guess
using
milkweed is good.
cattails too. Yeah. People are using
Yeah.
cattails now too, I've saw.
Yeah, I've never even thought of that, but
Mm-hmm.
I know that milkweed is supposed to be good for butterflies and stuff. So
Oh,
I guess that might help with, spreading seeds or whatever. But
yeah.
yeah, so that's really cool. Definitely cool product, and 15 bucks, be able to make it cheap like that. That's great too.
Yeah, really appreciate that. We've done, like I said, we've done very well with it. And, now's the time of year, stocking stuffers and things like that. It's something cheap. Every hunter can use it. Throw it in somebody's stocking if you don't know what to get them. Or, I just packaged an order up for a guy. He bought 6 of them and wrote in the message, hey, these are going to all my buddies for Christmas. If you can get them out before then. And we always ship same day or the next day at the very latest. We wrote them back, hey, no problem. But it was such a good idea. Like, you don't have anything to get your friends, man. Everybody checks the wind if they're hunting for real. So
Yeah,
it's pretty cool.
absolutely. Yeah. So I've been recently, we're getting towards the last part of season here in Ohio. It was deer gun season this past week, and I've been asking just about everybody I've seen, what are the lessons that you've learned throughout this season? I know I learned some lessons, and I only hunted like the first week of season before I got tagged out on my buck.
Yes, you
But then,
did.
so it was kind of a limited amount of time of learning there. But I'll ask you, what are some lessons that you learned this season when it comes to hunting, deer hunting? I don't know. Are you a saddle hunter, a hang on guy?
Oh,
Like,
yeah. Everything in, well, I'll set the what kind of hunter I am first, and then I'll go into the lesson. So I've been saddle hunting strictly for the last 7 years, probably 6 or 7 years. I started saddle hunting before it got kind of cool. Um, but the benefit for me is when I first started to hunt, I would always be 50 yards off the deer or 60 yards off the deer. And not like I have permission only. I don't own any land personally. So for me, at any time somebody can ask me to leave. And, I hope they don't. I always am very respectful, pick up after myself, but I always want all my stuff with me in the event that somebody gets permission, there's now a stand there or something, now it gets stolen, or I just don't want to deal with it. Plus, the options to be able to get into any tree that I want to get into has caused me to shoot a lot of deer that normally I wouldn't. Where again, nothing wrong with a tree stand. I think that one day when I own property, I'm going to have a bunch of sets already hung with some older tree stands that have a big platform that are super heavy. They're not going anywhere. I'll leave sticks, in the tree, check the straps every year, but I'll go up there and I'll saddle hunt off of those. So I have a bunch of different options. Um, Being behind the tree versus in front of the tree, I think is a huge difference. I have yet to get picked off other than the time when I was grabbing my from my milkweed, but other than that, the deer aren't used to seeing you behind the tree and only seeing your arm stick out, and I think there's something to that. It's hard when a deer comes in front of you or you start to see a deer, at least for me, I get really excited. If I know mentally that I'm going to shoot that deer, I that's when I start to shake. Like if I see some does or something like that and I know that hey, I'm not going to fill the freezer with that deer, I won't get as excited, but for the ones that do, man, I don't want reaching out here to grab my bow in front of me. Like I want everything, the tree in front of me, about a basketball size. I have everything, hung, my book bag, everything going straight down in a line. Put my knees up against the book bag. Everything's accessible here, and then I have my bow off of, one side as tight as I can to the tree. That's what works best for me personally. So that's answer number one. my lesson this year, I had early on about same situation that you went in, except the difference is you did well, I made a mistake. So I had a deer that just fired me up. I went in to scout. I found probably 5 or 6 scrapes. Super hot area coming out of thicket. Set a camera up, and I was probably out there at maybe 1, maybe 12, 1 o'clock. Last light, I had a giant, just an absolute giant come out. And I kept looking at the weather, not necessarily the wind, but the weather. It was still 80, 85, 90 degrees. And in my head, I'm like, man, I need to wait for this temperature drop. I need to wait for some type of cold front to come in. Even though my wind was good to hunt that deer, I know he will be there at the first cold front. Well, I waited too long. And the cold front came and that deer never came back. And the second piece to that is I got him at last light, and then I started to get him to daylight a little bit before that. And the last time that I saw that deer, he came in, and it was probably, let's just say, I'm just going to make up a number. Let's say last light was 6 o'clock or 6:30 or whatever. He came in about an hour before that, and as he was walking through to check the scrape, he looked dead at my camera. And when he looked dead at my camera, I never saw that deer again, ever. Now, maybe it's a coincidence, maybe it's not, I don't know, but I know that I could have hunted that deer for a week prior to seeing him, and I never did because I waited for the weather in my mind to be right. Where situation like you, right? Like you had something you were excited about. It didn't matter that it was 90 degrees or whatever it was. You went out and got it done, and that's something I'll never do again. As long as the wind is in my favor, I don't care about that temperature drop or that first cold front that comes in. That deer is there right now. I need to go in and handle business. So that's the biggest lesson I would say I took from this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've like when I hang cameras now in the last year or two, I'll take a frame pack with me, or when I'm hanging a camera, I'm hanging them high. So I like to be, 8 feet, 9 feet, maybe even 10 feet sometimes, just because I know that those mature bucks, I mean, I'm always worried that they're gonna see that camera or just they're not gonna like it. So I'm either climbing trees or I'm leaning my frame pack up against the base of a tree and standing on it, just trying to get everything up as high as possible. And I guess recently I've been running cameras with solar panels on them too. So those solar panels I try to get even higher, because they're
Yeah.
big and bulky.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a big thing.
Yeah. I
And
also, just to add on, uh, I'm gonna do something different next year. If I'm in there hanging cameras and I know I have permission on that property, obviously. Now, if it's public, I probably won't do this, but if it's private and I'm going in to hang cameras and I know I'm getting close to the season and I see something I like, I'm hanging a set right there too. Like even if it's just 3 sticks or 2 sticks just to get me going. So it's when I do go in there, because I'm not going to go like when I go in, I'm going to go in with the intent to kill whatever I see on that camera that gets me excited. And if that helps me shorten up that time to get ready on that first time going in, because like everybody says, right, your best opportunity is that first time in on that buck. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take exactly what you said. That's what I learned this year, that low camera, and I'm going to hang them high. Plus, it gets a little bit better of a view too. You can kind of see a little bit more what's going on. I just had one that I had just normal height, I would say, for a hunter, but the angle it was at, I was able to see the scrape it was on plus the next one that was made, and both of them were fresh. So I was like, you know what, this is a good angle. I can see both of them. And where I thought he was coming in, he was coming actually the opposite way. So when he came in, like he looked, and I have it on video too. Like he was walking, walking, walking. He looked up, dead at my camera, stood there for like probably 10 seconds, like did that little head movement of is that what I think it is? And
yep.
then never seen him again. So lesson learned.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, you say you're you hunt private, right? Mostly like
Hmm.
permission pieces of other guys' land.
Yep.
So I've hunted a lot of that over the years, and just like you know, I always try to treat the landowners very well because it can be one day you're hunting it and you have been for years, and then all of a sudden cousin wants to come in and hunt that property, and what do you do? It's their family. It's not like you can say no. So I always like to be very respectful, do as much as I can for landowners to make them feel like they want to have me back. And actually, I think as we speak, Dad is out right now, and he'll always, give Christmas cards and maybe gift cards to the local meat market or whatever it is to just permission pieces that we have around this time of year, just to kind of show our appreciation of letting us hunt, because that's a big part of what we live for as bow hunters is hunting, and having a place to do that is important too.
Yeah, anything you can do, even if it's you know, I've had one of the guys call me and say, "Hey, can you give me a hand? My tractor got stuck," or "Hey, can you give me a hand?" Whatever. This one gentleman that I hunt his property, he's getting up there and he can't do some of the stuff that he normally does. I don't care if it's splitting wood or if it's just help me, hook up my tractor because I'm having a hard time seeing where to attach it so I can pull it out. It doesn't matter. I'm going because ultimately they're doing us a favor, we're doing zero in return, and in most cases maybe we're an inconvenience to them, right?
Hmm.
Somebody who leaves trash or somebody who leaves a tree stand and never comes back for it, that drives me nuts. I the one property I that I have, there's still a climber in there from, like, I couldn't even tell you how long they'd like 8 foot up in the tree. I don't even know how this guy got down. And there's another tree that had, some old climbing sticks in it. And that's just a prime example of why it's harder to get property. Now, there's a bunch of other things that go along with that besides just that. And that's a whole nother topic for another time. But if you're hunting somebody's property, just remember that at any time that dude or that girl can say, "Hey, enough," right? Like, thanks for coming, thanks for whatever, but we're not going to allow anybody anymore. Or you'll get the, yeah, we used to let people hunt here until XYZ. So Christmas cards, give them some of the meat, right? When it gets processed, go drop them
Yeah.
off a backstrap or something. Um, anything like that. Or even just a, hey, just want to let you know, I really appreciate you letting me come hunt here this year. Hopefully I'm allowed back next year and in the spring or summer. If there's anything that you need help with, just let me know. And then one last piece, not to be long-winded, but if they have animals, man, offer to coyote hunt, come January, February, like late January. That really helps the farmers out. And actually that's gotten me some permission just from asking for that. So just a couple quick tips.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one. And I've actually never been coyote hunting, but that's definitely, I know some guys that do, and it looks like a lot of fun, and if it helps out the landowners, that's always great too. But yeah, so you said something earlier about you're in the stand and you see a deer that you want to shoot, start shaking a little bit, get a little bit jittery. I've kind of had that same thing, and I noticed actually, I think it was the night that I shot my buck this year. I have my bow hook, and this is kind of an older set. It's been the same for some years, and my bow hook is kind of out far away, so my arm is um, let's see, my bow's hanging on my right side, so I have to reach across myself with my left arm to grab the grip of the bow and then lift it up. And I shoot such a heavy bow because it's an older Matthews, and I just put so much stuff on it because I just like to have a decked out bow. And being a whitetail hunter doesn't have to be very lightweight. When I'm at arm's length trying to unhook this bow and then slowly bring it over to myself, my arm starts to like shake, especially when there's a deer right there. And I loved what you said about, having everything close to you. That's definitely, now that you say that, I'm definitely going to be changing my setup in that stand to get everything kind of closer to me, easier to access, as far as that goes. And same thing with silhouette. I actually learned from Casey Vandergraff in one of these last episodes here. He said that he hunts from a saddle, and a lot of times he will be down low, like below the horizon. So he'll say, okay, deer's coming from this direction, and then He'll be 10 feet off the ground is what he was saying, below that horizon. That way you don't get a silhouette. And that kind
Smart.
of seemed like a great idea for me in my situation because a lot of the times the deer will be uphill of me and walking down the ridge, and I'm kind of almost on the side hill and I am fully silhouetted. And there's one instance this season where there's some deer that were hanging around after dark, and they're kind of, I don't even know what they were doing. They were just hanging around there, and I had to sit in my stand for probably close to an hour after shooting light before they would finally leave, and that's not fun. But it was like I could not move because the little bit of light that was still coming from the horizon was enough to silhouette me. So I was just, standing there, just trying not to move because I couldn't tell when they were looking at me or I was looking at them, and you know how it is. But I thought that was a great point you made there.
Yeah, it's a good call out too. That's one of the main reasons that I like saddle hunting. And when people ask me all the time, I think I own probably every tethered saddle that ever came about. And people come over all the time like, "Hey, what do you think about this one? Or what do you think about this one? Can I try this one? Can I borrow this one?" That's what they're there for. Like, I use one. But what I tell people is if I had to do this over again, spend the time climbing and learning that setup, right? Because there's so many different ways to hold your sticks, to carry your sticks, to reach for your sticks, to pull your bow up, and then get situated in the tree, right? So get up. It doesn't matter, even if it's 10 feet, like you just said, practice that 10 feet. Get there, get your backpack off, get it set up, get your hip strap or whatever you're going to hang your stuff with, get your bow hanger up there, get situated, like pretend like you're actually hunting. And then the most important part is learn to shoot from the saddle. Do not wait until you're hunting to learn how to shoot from the saddle. I hate heights. I Besides hunting in a saddle, I don't even like getting on a ladder and cleaning the gutters out, bro. Like, no,
Yeah.
I don't want to be there. But in a saddle, because I'm so confident in it and I feel that resistance and I'm strapped in all the time, I've done some ninja stuff up there, and stuff that, like, if I would have told my wife, she'd be like, "There's no way you did that." And I'm telling you, but it's just the confidence of being up there so many times, and that feeling of just resistance, I guess, like I'm safe. You know what I mean? Where a tree stand, when I used to wear a harness, I'd have a lot of slop in it. So I feel like I could still fall and then it would catch me. And by that point, like I'm in big trouble, like because I'm off the platform at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Practice getting set up, practice getting, your bag off, your bow hung, all of that. And then learn your strong side shot, learn your weak side shot, learn, your 360 where you can turn around and shoot from behind you. Like learn all of that and take your time, because that's the most important part. Once you've got that down, like it's just a waiting game at this point. And I guarantee you, if there are deer in that area, you're gonna see more. Like because they're not gonna see you behind that tree. But take the time learning that before you just go all in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good stuff. And I remember I'm not really a saddle hunter. I don't think I've ever actually hunted out of a saddle. I've always been mostly hang-ons, or sometimes I'll hunt on the ground even if I'm trying to try out a new spot. But
Hmm.
the one time I was in a saddle I can remember was probably at the Pennsylvania tack that we met at. I remember Tethered had a kind of like a novelty shot set up,
Yeah.
and they had a log standing up, and you would climb up there with a saddle on, and then you would shoot from the saddle at the target, and if you hit the target, then you won something.
Hmm.
And I remember doing that, and that was the first time I was in a saddle, and it was honestly, yeah, a little bit uncomfortable, the first time I was up there. And then I don't know if it was the ATA show or something a couple years later, or maybe a year later, I climbed up in there, and even just the second time, I felt a lot more comfortable. I kind of knew what I was doing a little bit more. But yeah, practice can definitely make perfect there, and that's
Yeah.
probably a great off-season activity.
Fun too. It's fun. It's something different to break up, like shooting your bow. Let's say some people are just, man, I've been just competing a lot, or I've been just, I had a long hunting season. I just want to do something different. Man, that's a whole nother thing to nerd out on. Like, get your setup right. Don't wait till the last minute. And yeah, and there's nothing against tree stands. I still get in tree stands. I love ground blinds, especially with somebody bringing some kids or whatever. Or I haven't killed anything from the ground, but ground hunting is fun. But it's just something different to stay connected to your season, right? I talk a lot about, like, don't disconnect from the hunt. And what I mean by that is, hunting season is over, okay? Stay connected to the hunt. That's the best time to scout. Get out in the woods, look for those old trails, those old rubs, maybe some of those scrapes that aren't being hit actively, right? And then what do you do in the spring? Okay, we got 3D events, we got IBO, we got ASA, we got all these things that you can do with all of your buddies. Stay connected to the hunt. Gets a little bit further, right? Now, hey, maybe we can start messing around with our tree stands. We can start messing around with our saddles, right? Before you know it, then July's here, and that's when most times people get out their what? Trail cameras, right? Stay
Yep.
connected to the hunt. Then before you know it, hey, we're hitting September, and for us, we're 30 days away. For some, they're already in their season. So you don't have to wait until that week before the season to and building bowstrings, you would be stunned at how many people call me September 20 something or like, hey man, just get my bow out. Notice I need some strings. Well, at that point, I'm so deep with orders that I'm trying to get done for everybody that I try to help everybody out, but it's just going to be a little bit of a wait. But off topic, it's just a way to stay connected to the hunt all year, and you won't feel like you're behind the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people look at it as, a task. Oh man, I gotta shoot my bow. Oh, I gotta,
Yeah,
put out these trail cameras. Yes, you get
you
to.
get
That's
to.
exactly right. Yeah, that's how I am. I love to do what I do, and any chance I can, I'll be out there doing it. But
Yeah, love that.
yeah. So this time of year, what are you doing as far as hunting and archery?
I'm still out there, man. So I have not shot a buck this year yet. Late season I still enjoy. I think this is when food becomes popular again. The bachelor groups start to join up a little bit again. So I'm gonna still stay at it. I know that there's gonna be something in my future, and if not, freezer still has some room in it. So we'll help the population and attack some does and go out with some buddies. This later time of the year is when, and no offense to anybody, but the hunters are still hunting. There's not as many recreational hunters out when it gets cold, right?
Yeah.
So this is a time where I love to spend time with community inside the woods. So getting some, like, normally beginning of the season, all my buddies, everybody's after a certain buck, right? We're sharing pictures. There's that one that we're after. Well, later it gets into the season. Yeah, there's a lot that shoot bucks all the way till the end of January, but this is the time of year around the holidays and into January where I really like to get together with some friends, go hang, go saddle hunt together, maybe film some hunts. Just, hey, if there's a couple does that come in, they're getting the business. Like, let's have some fun, make some memories, and then, towards that tail end of the season is, getting ready to scout for next year. So I love postseason scouting, and then shed hunting. I really enjoy. So excited to do that. Believe it or not, I've only found one shed. I'm so bad at it, but I love it. I
Yeah.
think it's just getting out there and going to hike, you don't have to worry about quiet, right? So you can get some buddies, go on a hike and try to find some sheds, And the one shed I did find in my entire life, my dog ate. So I don't even have proof of it anymore.
Yeah, this year actually, this past weekend, I normally we go down to deer camp with all Dad's friends, and it's a great time. The first weekend of gun season, we'll go and just fill the freezer, get some does, and normally I go to that, and it's always a great time, good fun. But actually, there's a bow shoot this weekend that I really couldn't miss, and so I had to miss deer gun season this year, and so I have to be out later in shed season and try to
Yeah.
find some of those sheds, go down for an extra weekend to make up for it.
Yeah.
But
How did you do, by the way?
Really good actually. It was my first national win.
Let's
Um,
go.
yeah, so that was pretty sweet. Shot 60X's the first day, so
Woo.
that's a perfect score. My first perfect score in competition, and then the second day shot a 300 on the Vegas face too. So I'm super
Cool.
happy with that. If I can continue to do that throughout this season, and the main tournament I'm looking at is Vegas. If I can shoot a 300s at Vegas, that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah,
Um,
two things I got to ask real quick. It's my turn to answer you for a second. So, what did that last arrow feel like when it was going to be that perfect score? Did you get nerves?
So, probably the feeling you're thinking of is going to be my last arrow at Vegas this year because that might have been my first 300 at a national competition. I did shoot a 300 at Vegas this year,
Got it.
and I remember, I was so like locked in, I didn't even realize that I was clean until that last end. For somebody said something, I don't even remember. I caught a glance at the scorecard. I'm like, oh crap, I'm clean. I started walking back and I don't think I was quite um as keen on my senses what's happening in March that year.
Mm-hmm.
I was a little bit more sloppy with my mental game, and I let it get to me. I think on I let it get to me as I'm walking up onto the line and I'm knocking their arrow. I'm still getting those crazy thoughts in my head. Oh my gosh, I'm about to shoot a 300. And then it wasn't until like the last second I remember thinking, what am I doing? I can't be thinking about this stuff. I just got to make the shot. And
Yeah.
I ended up making the shot. And I remember after that, just the burst of, emotion after shooting
Yeah.
that. It's like, wow, that's a big milestone. And
Huge.
this past weekend, it was actually a lot more chill. I think I controlled myself a lot better. I knew, I've done it, getting to that last arrow. I've done it 59 times. There's no reason why I can't do it one more.
Yeah.
And
Great
just
attitude.
getting in there, getting in the zone, going through the process. I think that it was a lot more controlled this time, and that definitely feels good. But
Cool.
yeah, it was a good
Congratulations, man.
weekend. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Tony, this has been a great podcast. I've definitely learned a lot. I love hearing about the lessons. That's the only way you can learn, and
Amen.
you learn double when you learn lessons from other people too. Learning
True
from
story.
others' mistakes. But yeah, I really appreciate you coming on.
Anytime.
And yeah, how can people get in touch with you or and Drawn Archery if they got any questions?
Yeah, drawnarchery.co, drawnarchery.co, and then Drawn Archery on any social media platform, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. And yeah, we're shipping the wins daily and still got you for some bowstrings. So thanks for having us, man. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, sweet. Wind stocking stuffer. That's a great one.
Go. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, awesome, Tony. Hey, I appreciate it. We'll catch you on the next one.
Yes, sir. Thank you.